I sold my '72 Chevy Nova to pay for my wife's surgery. 40 years I'd kept that car, turned down 45,000 cash from a collector back in '09 because I told myself it'd be Amy's someday. Sold it to some kid for 12,000 3 days before Linda went under the knife. The morning she came home from the hospital, I made her favorite. Apple pie with extra cinnamon, the way her mother used to. She ate 2 bites and pushed the plate away. Said the morphine killed her appetite. 6 months later, she packed her things and moved into Tyler Brennan's condo. The contractor with the BMW and the vanity plate that read, "Sucks 2BU." She told me she deserved to feel alive before it was too late. I stood in the empty garage that evening, touching the oil stain where the Nova used to sit. The keys were still on my ring. I couldn't make myself take them off. But that was only the beginning. The porch step creaked under my boots the same way it had for 30 years. Some things you can count on. I sat in the same wooden chair, same chipped mug in my hand, watching the sun come up over Meadowbrook like I'd done every morning since I retired from the Postal Service. Except now, the garage door stayed closed. The coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but I kept holding it, gave my hands something to do. The robins were starting up in the oak tree, and somewhere down the street, a screen door slammed. Normal sounds. The world kept turning like nothing had changed. Linda's car pulled into the driveway at 8:30. I heard it before I saw it. That little Honda she'd bought last year said her old one was tired. I should have known something was up when she traded in a perfectly good Accord with 60,000 miles on it. She got out slow, like she was working up to something, wore a new jacket I hadn't seen before. Smelled like perfume when she climbed the porch steps. Not the one I'd bought her for Christmas, something sharper, more expensive. "Frank?" She didn't sit down, just stood there with her purse clutched in both hands. "I came for the last of my things." I nodded. Didn't trust my voice yet. I put my forwarding address on the counter, for the mail. "Already got it." I'd found the paper 2 weeks ago, tucked under the sugar bowl like an afterthought. She shifted her weight. The boards groaned under her. "I know this is hard, but I think we both knew it was coming." That stung. Made it sound like we'd agreed to something, like I'd had a vote. Did we? I finally looked at her. I must have missed that conversation. Her jaw tightened. "Frank, I haven't been happy for a long time. Years. You could have said something." "I did. You just didn't hear me." She said it like she believed it, like she'd rewritten the whole thing in her head, and I was the villain. "I tried to tell you how I felt, how alone I was, but you were always so distant, so checked out." I wanted to argue, wanted to remind her about the surgery, the Nova, the 42 years I'd shown up every single day. But the words stuck in my throat. Maybe that was my problem. Never could argue worth a damn. "Tyler makes me feel seen," she said, softer now, like she was trying to be kind. "He makes me feel like I matter." Tyler. The name sat between us like a stone. "When did it start?" I asked. She looked away. "Does it matter?" "Yeah, it does." "Frank." "When did it start, Linda?" She closed her eyes. "November. Last year." The surgery was in March. I did the math in my head. 4 months before I sold the car. 4 months before I sat in that surgical waiting room for 7 hours, drinking burnt coffee from a machine that took quarters. So when I sold the Nova, I didn't ask you to do that. You didn't have to. The bills were 23,000. Insurance covered 8. That left 15, and we had maybe 3 in savings. My voice stayed level, didn't crack. I sold it for 12, took out a loan for the rest. "I know." She wouldn't look at me. "I know what you did." "Do you?" I stood up, slow, feeling every one of my 68 years in my knees. "Because it seems like you knew you were leaving before I ever signed that title over." Her face went hard. "This is exactly why I couldn't talk to you. You make everything about sacrifice, about what you gave up. Like I'm supposed to feel guilty for wanting something more." "More than what? More than a marriage? More than a life we built?" "More than being invisible." Her voice rose, cracked. Do you know what it's like, Frank? To live with someone who looks right through you, who comes home and sits on this porch and drinks his coffee and never asks how your day was. Who fixes the gutters and pays the bills and does everything right except actually see the person standing in front of him. I opened my mouth, closed it, couldn't think of a single thing to say that wouldn't sound like excuses. She picked up a box from the porch rail. I hadn't even noticed it sitting there. Old photo albums, a jewelry box, some kitchen things she must have left behind. I'm sorry, she said, and maybe she even meant it. I'm sorry it ended like this, but I'm not sorry for choosing myself. Not anymore. She walked down the steps, loaded the box into her back seat, got in the Honda, and backed out of the driveway without looking back. I watched her taillights disappear around the corner, heading toward the new condos on Sycamore Street, toward Tyler. I sat back down in my chair. The mug was still in my hand, coffee stone cold. A wire hanger swung in the closet through the open bedroom window. The only thing she'd left behind. My phone was in my pocket. I pulled it out, looked at the screen. The wallpaper was still a picture of Linda from before the surgery. She was smiling, holding a tomato from the garden. I stared at it for a long time. Then I noticed her perfume was still hanging in the air, that sharp, expensive smell that didn't belong in my house. I thought about changing the wallpaper. Didn't. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. The world kept moving. Tuesday morning came around like it always did. I got up at 6, showered, put on clean jeans and the flannel shirt Amy gave me 3 Christmases back. The one with the blue checks. Made myself go through the motions. Coffee, toast, read the paper at the kitchen table even though I couldn't tell you a single thing I read. By 7:30, I was sitting in my truck in the driveway, keys in the ignition, trying to talk myself into going to the diner. 15 years I'd been going to Rosie's every Tuesday morning. Same booth by the window, same order, 2 eggs over easy, bacon, white toast, black coffee. Earl usually met me there around 8. We'd talk about nothing important, cars, weather, whose roof needed fixing. The kind of conversation that doesn't need a point. I turned the key. The engine caught on the second try. 240,000 miles and still running. I maintained things. That's what I did. The parking lot was half full when I pulled in. Recognized most of the trucks. Bob Henley's F-150 still sporting that dent in the rear quarter panel from when he backed into his own mailbox. The Martinez kid's Silverado with the lift kit and the mud flaps. A few sedans I didn't know. The bell over the door jangled when I walked in. The smell hit me first. Bacon grease, burnt coffee, maple syrup, linoleum floor sticky under my boots. Pam was working the counter, 50-something, been there longer than I'd been coming. She looked up when I walked in, and her face did something, not quite a smile, more like sympathy. That should have been my first warning. I headed toward my usual booth. Every head in the place swiveled. Conversations dropped off like somebody'd flipped a switch, then picked back up again, quieter. People leaning in close to whoever they were sitting with. I slid into the booth. The vinyl seat was cracked in the same spot it'd been cracked for 5 years. Pam came over with coffee before I even asked. Morning, Frank. She poured without looking at me. Usual? Yeah, thanks. She squeezed my shoulder as she walked away. The touch lasted half a second too long. I picked up the menu even though I'd never ordered anything different. Gave me something to look at besides the people trying not to stare. Said he sold his car. The words came from the counter. 2 guys, maybe late 30s, early 40s, construction types by the look of their boots. Loud enough they either didn't care or wanted me to hear. For her surgery, right? The other one said. Then she just up and left. Cold. That's what I heard. Moved in with Tyler Brennan. You know, the contractor. Got that big place out by the lake. The one with the Beamer? Yeah, vanity plate and everything. They laughed. Not mean exactly, just casual, like they were talking about a ball game. The first one said, "My old man always told me, never put a woman before your toys. They'll leave you either way, least you'll still have the car." More laughter. Someone clinked silverware. The griddle sizzled behind the counter. I set the menu down. My hands were steady, but my coffee cup wasn't. I watched it shake in small circles on the table. The whole diner had gone quiet again. Everyone heard it. Everyone was waiting to see what I'd do. I looked up, made eye contact with Earl, sitting 3 booths over. He'd come in while I wasn't paying attention. His face was stone, jaw tight. He shook his head once. Small, barely visible, telling me to let it go. I pulled out my wallet, put a 20 on the table. Didn't wait for the food. The bell jangled again when I left. Behind me, somebody said something I couldn't make out. More laughter. I sat in my truck for 5 minutes before I could trust myself to drive. White-knuckled the steering wheel, staring at the plastic Jesus on the dashboard that Linda had put there 20 years ago. Never believed in much, Linda, but she liked the idea of protection. I drove past the new condos without meaning to. Tyler's BMW was in spot 314. Jet black, chrome wheels, that stupid plate. Upstairs, the lights were on in what I knew was Linda's unit. I'd driven by twice since she left, told myself I was just taking a different route home. Through the window, I could see shadows moving. 2 people, close together. I drove home. The house was too quiet. I left the TV on in the living room just for the noise. Didn't matter what was playing. Some game show, people clapping and screaming over prizes they didn't need. My phone buzzed around 3. Text from Amy. Dad, we need to talk. Can I come by tomorrow? I stared at the message for a long time. My daughter, 38 years old, divorced, raising a teenage boy on her own. We'd been close once. When she was little, I taught her how to change oil in the Nova, how to check tire pressure, how to tell when something wasn't running right just by listening. Hadn't talked much lately. She'd been busy. That's what she always said. I typed back, sure, anytime. She didn't respond right away. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, 2 p.m. Okay. At the house. See you then. I set the phone face down on the table, thought about making dinner, couldn't work up the energy, ate a can of soup standing at the sink, chicken noodle, tasted like nothing. That night, I dreamed about the Nova. Amy was 6 years old, sitting in the passenger seat, watching me check the oil. She said, "Will this car last forever, Daddy?" And I said, "If we take care of it, sweetheart. Things last if you take care of them." I woke up at 4 in the morning. The TV was still on, casting blue light across the living room. The house creaked in the dark. Same creaks it had made for 30 years, but somehow it felt different now. Emptier, like the walls knew she was gone. Amy's car pulled in right at 2. I'd been watching out the window since 1:30. Couldn't help myself. Her little Mazda, the one with the dent in the passenger door from when she'd backed into a shopping cart. She sat in the driver's seat for a minute before getting out, like she was working up the nerve. I opened the door before she knocked. "Hey, sweetheart." "Hey, Dad." She hugged me, but it was quick, stiff, the kind of hug you give somebody at a funeral. She looked tired, hair pulled back in a ponytail, no makeup, jeans and a sweatshirt that said Indiana University, her alma mater. She'd put on a little weight since I'd seen her last, carried it in her face, made her look more like Linda every year. "Coffee?" I asked. "Sure." I went to the kitchen, pulled down the good mugs, not the chipped one I used, but the matching set Linda had bought at some craft fair. Only ever brought them out for company. The coffee was already made. I'd brewed a fresh pot at 1:15. Amy sat at the kitchen table, same spot she used to sit when she was in high school. Did her homework there while I read the paper? Felt like a lifetime ago. I poured 2 mugs, added cream to hers without asking, still remembered. "Thanks." She wrapped both hands around the mug like she was cold, even though it was 70 degrees outside. We sat in silence for a minute. The clock on the wall ticked. The refrigerator hummed. "So," she finally said. "Mom called me." My stomach dropped, but I kept my face neutral. "Yeah?" "She's pretty upset, Dad, about everything." I took a sip of coffee, burned my tongue. "I imagine she is." Amy looked down at her mug. "She said you guys just grew apart, that you hadn't been happy for a long time." "That what she said?" "Yeah." She met my eyes. "Is it true?" I thought about Linda's speech on the porch, about being invisible, about me being checked out. "I don't know what truth is anymore, Amy. I thought I did. But your mother's got her version, and I got mine. and I'm not sure they're talking about the same marriage. Well, what's your version? I stood up, walked to the counter, pulled out the folder I'd been keeping in the drawer, brought it back to the table, and set it down between us. What's this? She asked. Open it. She did. Pulled out the first paper, the hospital bill from Linda's surgery. $23,000 highlighted in yellow. Then the insurance statement. 8,000 covered. 15,000 balance. I know she was sick, Dad. She told me about the surgery. Keep going. Next page. The title transfer for the Nova sold to E. Patterson for $12,000. March 15th, 3 days before the surgery. Amy's finger traced the date. You sold the Nova? Needed the money. Took out a loan for the rest. She looked up at me. The Nova? Dad, you loved that car. Loved your mother more. The words came out rougher than I meant. 40 years I kept that car. Guy offered me $45,000 for it back in '09. Collector out of Illinois. I told him no. Thought I'd teach you how to drive in it someday. Thought maybe you'd want it when I was gone. Her eyes were wet. Dad, I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad. I'm telling you because you asked for my version. That's it. I sold the car, paid for the surgery. She came home. And 6 months later, she moved in with Tyler Brennan. Amy stared at the papers, flipped through the rest. Bank statements showing the account emptied out, the loan agreement, the insurance EOBs, all of it highlighted, organized, dated. I didn't know it was this bad, she whispered. Nobody did. I don't advertise my business. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Mom said you were emotionally distant, that you made her feel small. Maybe I did. I don't know. I sat back down. I'm not saying I was perfect, Amy. I worked a lot, kept to myself. Your mother wanted things I didn't know how to give, but I never— My voice caught. I never stopped trying. I never stopped showing up. She reached across the table and took my hand. Hers was warm from the coffee mug. You were a good dad. You are a good dad. The words cracked something open in my chest. I squeezed her hand, couldn't speak. Let me talk to her, Amy said. There's got to be an explanation. Some misunderstanding. This doesn't make sense. Amy, you don't have to. No, I want to. You're my dad. If she's not telling me the whole truth, I need to know. She stood up, came around the table, and hugged me for real this time. Long and tight, like she used to when she was little and I'd come home from work. I love you, Dad. Love you too, sweetheart. She gathered up the papers, put them back in the folder. Can I take this? Show her? Take whatever you need. At the door, she turned back. I'll call you in a few days, okay? After I talk to her. Okay. She left the photo album on the coffee table, the one with pictures of her as a kid sitting in the Nova, learning to check the oil. I didn't notice until after she was gone. I picked it up, flipped through the pages. Amy at 6, gap-toothed smile, hands covered in motor oil. Amy at 10, sitting in the driver's seat, pretending to steer. Amy at 16, the day she got her permit, standing next to the Nova with her arm around my shoulder. Things last if you take care of them. That's what I'd told her. I closed the album and set it back on the table. Thought maybe she'd left it on purpose. Maybe she'd be back for it. 2 weeks went by. Amy didn't call. I tried her number on day 4. Straight to voicemail. Left a message. Hey, sweetheart. Just checking in. Call me when you get a chance. Day 7. I sent a text. Hope everything's okay. Love you. Read receipt showed she'd seen it. No response. Day 10. I tried calling again. This time she picked up. Hey, Dad? Her voice was different. Careful. Like she was reading from a script. Relief flooded through me. Amy, I was starting to worry. Sorry, I've been busy. That's okay. I just wanted to— Dad, I talked to Mom. The way she said it stopped me cold. Not, I talked to Mom, and you were right. Just, I talked to Mom. Period. Okay, I said slowly. She explained everything. What did she explain? A pause. Too long. about how you controlled the finances made her feel small. She said the car was a guilt move because you'd been checked out for years. My hand tightened around the phone. Amy, you saw the bank statements. We had joint accounts. She had access to everything. She showed me her therapist's notes about emotional neglect. What therapist? When was she seeing a therapist? For a year, Dad, because of the marriage. The math didn't add up. A year ago was last spring, right when the affair started. If Linda was telling the truth about November, but I could hear in Amy's voice that she didn't want to hear it. Do you believe I'm that man? I asked. The one she's describing? The longest pause yet. I counted heartbeats. I don't know what to believe anymore. I just know Mom's really hurt. And you think I'm not? I think, her voice cracked. I think you should give her what she's asking for. Just let it be over. Fighting's only going to make it worse. Amy, I have to go, Dad. I'm sorry. She hung up before I could say anything else. I sat with the dead phone in my hand, stared at the wallpaper again. Linda smiling, holding that tomato. How long ago was that? Last summer? The summer before? I opened Facebook on my laptop. Barely used the thing. Couldn't remember the last time I'd logged in. Had to reset my password twice before it let me through. Found Amy's page. Scrolled down. There. Posted 3 days ago. A photo. Amy, Linda, and Tyler at some restaurant. Steakhouse by the look of it. Dim lighting. Fancy plates. Amy in the middle. Linda on her left. Tyler on her right. All three of them smiling. The caption. Family dinner with the people who matter most. I read it 3 times. Made sure I wasn't misunderstanding. The people who matter most. Comments underneath. Dozens of them. So happy for you. You deserve this, Linda. Proud of you for choosing yourself. New beginnings. I closed the laptop. Didn't shut it down. Just closed it. The screen glowed in the dark kitchen. I should have known better than to hope. I grabbed my truck keys off the counter. Didn't think about where I was going. Just needed to move. Needed to be anywhere but in that kitchen, with Linda's smile on the laptop screen and Amy's words echoing in my head. The people who matter most. The truck started on the first try. I backed out of the driveway without checking my mirrors, almost clipped the mailbox. Didn't care. I drove through town with no destination, past the post office where I'd worked for 38 years, past the elementary school where Amy learned to read, past the church, Meadowbrook Methodist, white steeple reaching up into the gray sky. Wednesday evening service would be starting soon. I could see cars in the parking lot already. Linda's Honda was there. Front row, near the door. I slowed down, told myself to keep driving, told myself there was nothing to see, nothing to gain from stopping. I pulled in anyway, parked 3 rows back. Through the tall windows, I could see people gathering in the fellowship hall. Linda was there, center of a small group, mostly women. Church ladies with their casseroles and their sympathy. She had a tissue in her hand, dabbing at her eyes while someone, looked like Margaret Yang, rubbed her shoulder. I watched her laugh at something someone said, saw her cover her mouth like she was embarrassed to be happy. The performance was flawless. Pastor Mike appeared in the doorway, put his hand on her shoulder, said something that made her nod. More tissues. I couldn't go in there. Couldn't walk through those doors and face the judgment, the whispers, the assumption that whatever Linda said must be true, because why would she lie? She was the one who'd been sick, the one who'd suffered. I started the truck and left before anyone noticed me sitting there. The road opened up outside town. Farmland on both sides, corn starting to come up green in the fields. I drove for an hour, maybe 2, just following the center line until the sun started dropping behind the tree line. Ended up at the cemetery without meaning to. The one out on County Road 15, where my folks were buried. I parked near the old section, where the stones were weathered and sinking. Found my parents' graves under the oak tree they'd picked out 40 years ago when they bought the plots. Walter Morrison, 1935 to 2003, beloved father. The stone lied. Nobody came to his funeral except me and Amy. My mother was already gone by then. His brother didn't come. His old business partner, the one who'd screwed him over in '97, sure as hell didn't come. My father spent the last 6 years of his life bitter and angry. Used to sit in his apartment and go over the paperwork from the business deal, looking for the loophole he'd missed, the clause that would prove he'd been cheated. He was right. He had been cheated. But being right didn't matter. Being right just made him smaller and meaner until there was nothing left but the anger. I'd visited him every week, brought groceries, fixed things that broke, listened to the same stories about betrayal and injustice until I could recite them myself. And when he died, alone in that chair with the paperwork spread around him, I swore I'd never let anger eat me up like that. I looked at my mother's stone next to his. Edna Morrison, 1937-2010, she loved without counting the cost. That one was true. She'd loved my father through the bitterness, the rage, the isolation, loved me even when I wasn't easy to love, loved Amy like she was made of starlight, never asked for anything back, never kept score. Two people, two paths. I sat down on the grass between them. The ground was damp from yesterday's rain, soaked through my jeans. Didn't care. I don't know what to do, I said out loud. Felt stupid talking to stones, but nobody else was around. I could fight, could drag her through court, make her look like the liar she is. But that makes me you, Dad. And I swore I wouldn't be you. The wind moved through the oak leaves, sounded like whispers. But I can't just let her win, can I? Can't let her rewrite 42 years like they didn't mean anything. Like I didn't show up every single day. My phone rang. Earl's name on the screen. I almost didn't answer. Let it ring 3 times before I picked up. Yeah? Where are you? Earl's voice was gruff, worried. Cemetery. Silence. Then, you okay? No? Fair enough. He cleared his throat. Got something you need to see, but you gotta come to the garage. Can't talk about this over the phone. Earl, I appreciate it, but I'm not really... Frank, his voice got hard. You need to see this, tonight. Something in his tone pulled me up short. What is it? Can't say. Not like this. How far out are you? I looked around, getting my bearings. 30 minutes, maybe. I'll wait. And Frank? Yeah? Don't do anything stupid before you get here. He hung up. I stood up, brushed the wet grass off my jeans, looked down at my parents' graves one more time. Guess I'll let you know how it turns out, I said. The drive back was darker, headlights cutting through the gathering dusk. I passed the church again. Service was in full swing now, the windows glowing warm. I didn't slow down this time. Earl's garage was lit up when I pulled in. The bay door was open, and I could see him inside, sitting on an overturned bucket next to his workbench. His dog Duke was lying at his feet, a big yellow lab with gray around his muzzle. I parked and walked in. The smell hit me first. Motor oil, old leather, the metallic tang of tools. The radio was playing low, Merle Haggard singing about a place where the lonely go. Earl stood up when he saw me. Didn't say anything, just handed me a beer from the mini fridge he kept in the corner. I took it. Didn't open it. Just held the cold bottle in my hand. You gonna tell me what's so important? I asked. Earl walked over to his workbench, picked up a worn folder. The kind with the metal clasp, edges frayed from years of use. Been holding on to something, he said. Wasn't sure if you'd want to see it. Now I'm sure you need to. He opened the folder. Inside was 40 years of my life, written in grease pencil and ballpoint ink. The Nova's maintenance ledger. Earl spread the ledger out on the workbench. Every page was filled with his cramped handwriting, dates, mileage, work done. Oil changes every 3,000 miles like clockwork. Brake jobs. Transmission fluid. A new alternator in '03. The time we rebuilt the carburetor together in '08. 40 years, Earl said, running his finger down a page. Every time you brought her in, I wrote it down. Force of habit, I guess. I flipped through the pages, saw my own life mapped out in maintenance records. February '09. The page was marked with a yellow sticky note. Earl tapped it. Remember this? I read the entry. Collector from Illinois. Offered 45K cash. Frank declined. Note says, can't sell. It's Amy's car someday. My own words, written in Earl's hand. That's who you are, Earl said quietly. A man who turns down 45 grand because he's thinking about his daughter's future. I turned to the last page, March 15th, 2024. Sold to E. Patterson, $12,000. Frank says it's for Linda's surgery. Tried to talk him out of it. He wouldn't budge. I remember you trying, I said. My voice sounded hollow. Yeah, well, Earl pulled out his phone. There's more. You might not want to see this part. He opened a video file. Security camera footage, black and white, timestamp in the corner. March 12th, 2024. 3 days before I sold the Nova. Day before Linda's surgery. The angle showed the front of the garage, the street beyond. A black BMW pulled into frame. Tyler Brennan's vanity plate clear as day. Sucks to be you. The driver's door opened. Tyler got out. Tall, fit, probably 50 but trying to look 40. He walked around to the passenger side, opened the door like a gentleman. Linda stepped out, looked up at him, smiled in a way I hadn't seen in years. He took her hand. She leaned in, kissed it. Not his cheek, his hand. Intimate, familiar. They stood there for a moment, talking. Then Tyler got back in the BMW and drove off. Linda walked toward the hospital entrance, disappeared from frame. This was the day before her surgery, I said. It wasn't a question. Yeah, I checked the timestamp 3 times. Thought maybe I was wrong. Wasn't wrong. I watched the footage loop. Linda kissing his hand. That smile. How long you been sitting on this? Earl looked uncomfortable. Since it happened. 6 months. I didn't know if you knew. Didn't want to be the guy who told you if you didn't. He paused. But I kept the footage, just in case. In case of what? In case you needed proof that you weren't crazy. I sat down on the bucket he'd been using. Duke walked over, rested his head on my knee. I scratched behind his ears without thinking about it. There's one more thing, Earl said. He walked to the bay door, looked out at the parking lot. A car pulled in, a Honda Civic, older model. 2 women got out, Doris Pritchard and Margaret Yang. Church ladies, retired schoolteacher and retired nurse, both in their 70s. Known them for years, nodded to them every Sunday when Linda and I still sat together. They looked nervous walking in. Doris was carrying a manila folder. Oh, Frank, she said. Earl told us you were coming by. Ladies. I stood up. What's this about? Margaret glanced at Doris, then back at me. We've been wanting to talk to you, but we didn't know how. Didn't know if you'd want to hear it. Hear what? Doris opened the folder, pulled out photographs, printed on regular paper, but clear enough. Parking lot shots, hospital cafeteria, dated, time-stamped. We weren't trying to be nosy, Doris said quickly, but something didn't sit right, the way Linda was acting at church, so we paid attention. The first photo showed Linda and Tyler in the hospital cafeteria, March 13th, 2024, surgery day. Timestamp said 1:45 p.m. That's during her recovery, I said. I was in the waiting room. We know, Margaret said softly. I volunteer at the hospital. I saw you there. 7 hours you waited. More photos. Tyler's BMW in the parking lot of Linda's condo. Different dates. April, May, June. We have visitor logs too, Margaret added. Friend of mine works hospital admin. Tyler Brennan visited Linda's room 3 times during her recovery. I'd never seen him. Never knew. Why? I asked. Why'd you do this? Doris put her hand on my arm. Because we've known you for 30 years, Frank. We know who you are. And we know who she's pretending to be. Earl handed me the beer again. Brothers don't let brothers disappear. I stood there with evidence spread across the workbench. Security footage, maintenance logs, photographs, visitor records. Proof that Linda had been lying from the start. Proof that the affair started before the surgery. Proof that while I was selling my car and sitting in waiting rooms, she was with him. What am I supposed to do with this? I asked. Nobody answered. If I use this, if I drag her through the mud, That makes me vindictive, bitter. Makes me exactly what she's saying I am. No, Earl said. It makes you honest. There's a difference. My old man couldn't tell the difference. Anger poisoned him. Killed him, really. Not his heart, not cancer. Anger. I watched it happen, swore I'd never be him. You're not him, Doris said firmly. Your father lashed out at everyone, pushed people away. You're not doing that. You're just trying to survive. Margaret nodded. Sometimes telling the truth isn't revenge, Frank. Sometimes it's just self-defense. I looked at the photos again. Linda laughing in the cafeteria while I drank burnt coffee from a machine that took quarters. Tyler's hand on hers while I drove home alone to an empty house. There's one more thing, Doris said carefully. Your daughter. She's been defending Linda at church, saying things about you that aren't true. She doesn't know what her mother really is. That hit harder than anything else. She doesn't want to know. I tried to show her the hospital bills, the bank statements. She chose her mother anyway. Then show her this, Earl said. Let her choose again with all the facts. I gathered up the evidence, photos, footage, ledger, visitor logs. Put it all in the folder Doris had brought. I need to think, I said. Don't think too long, Earl said. Lawyer's probably going to want to see this. I drove home with the folder on the passenger seat, kept glancing at it like it might disappear. The house was dark when I pulled in. I left the lights off, sat at the kitchen table with the folder in front of me. My phone was next to it. Amy's contact photo. Her at 25, laughing at something I'd said. Before her divorce, before she learned to choose sides. I could call her, could demand she come over, force her to look at the evidence, make her see what her mother really was. But what if she still chose Linda? What if proof didn't matter? What if love, or whatever she thought was love, trumped truth? I couldn't risk it. Couldn't survive losing her twice. The clock on the wall ticked past midnight. I sat in the dark, paralyzed, too proud to beg, too hurt to stay silent, too old to start over, too stubborn to give up. No move left that didn't make me look weak or bitter or broken. I thought about my father in his apartment, surrounded by paperwork. Thought about my mother's headstone. She loved without counting the cost. Two paths. Neither felt right. My phone buzzed. Text from Earl. Sleep on it. You'll know what to do in the morning. But I didn't sleep. Just sat there until the sun came up, watching the folder on the table like it might tell me what kind of man I wanted to be. The certified mail came on Thursday. I heard the truck, watched the mailman walk up the drive with the clipboard. Had to sign for it. Heavy envelope. Law offices of Patterson Webb. Return address in Indianapolis. I knew what it was before I opened it. Divorce papers. I spread them out on the kitchen table. Legal language, dense paragraphs, but the demands were clear enough. Spousal support, $2,400 a month. Half the home equity, half my retirement account. I read Linda's statement attached to the filing. Plaintiff sacrificed career opportunities to support respondents' postal employment, contributed equally to marital assets, entitled to maintain lifestyle established during marriage. She'd worked part-time at the bank for 11 years, then quit, by choice. Said she wanted to focus on the house, on her hobbies. I'd worked 38 years without missing a day. But according to this, we'd contributed equally. My lawyer's card was clipped to the papers. Jennifer Cole. I'd called her last week after the mediation date got set. Consultation had cost me $350 just to hear her say I needed $5,000 up front for a retainer. I had $8,000 in checking. Everything left after the surgery bills and the loan payments. If Linda got what she was asking for, I'd lose the house, live on maybe $1,400 a month after support payments. At 68, there were no do-overs. I was still sitting there at noon when someone knocked. Earl hadn't called, hadn't texted, just showed up. Saw the mail truck, he said, letting himself in. Figured it was the papers. I nodded toward the table. He read through them, face getting harder with each page. She's got some nerve. She's got a lawyer who knows what judges give to women her age. You gonna fight it? With what? The $5,000 I don't have? Earl sat down across from me. You got that folder I gave you? Yeah. Show it to your lawyer, see what she says. Earl, Frank, quit being stubborn. You got proof. Use it. Using it makes you what? Smart, right? A guy who won't roll over and let himself get cleaned out? He leaned forward. Your old man's problem wasn't that he fought. It was that he fought mean, fought everyone, even people trying to help him. You're not doing that. I didn't answer. Earl's phone rang. He glanced at it, then stood up. It's Doris. Been expecting this. He stepped outside to take the call. Came back 2 minutes later. They want to come by. Doris and Margaret. Got something else to show you. More pictures? Don't know. She wouldn't say over the phone. They arrived 20 minutes later. Margaret was carrying a different folder this time, thin and brown. Frank, she said. We found something. Wasn't sure we should tell you. But after what Earl said about the divorce papers, she opened the folder. Inside was a photocopy of the hospital visitor log from Linda's surgery. Official hospital letterhead, date stamp, the works. Margaret pointed to 3 entries. Tyler Brennan. March 13th, 2:15 p.m. March 14th, 11:30 a.m. March 15th, 4:45 p.m. 3 times he visited her room, Margaret said. The first one was 2 hours after she came out of recovery. The last one was the day you brought her home. How'd you get this? I told you. Friend in admin. She bent the rules a little. For me. Margaret looked uncomfortable. I wouldn't normally ask, but this felt important. Doris pulled out more photographs. These were different. Taken from a distance. Grainy. Church parking lot. This is from April, she said. 3rd Sunday. Linda told everyone at coffee hour how hard it was, being alone, recovering without support. The photo showed Linda getting into Tyler's BMW, right there in the church parking lot, broad daylight. We started paying attention after that, Doris said. Took us a while to get clear pictures. We're not exactly private investigators. There were 6 more photos, different dates, different locations. Tyler's BMW at Linda's condo. The 2 of them at a restaurant in the next town over. One shot through a window, Linda laughing, Tyler's hand on hers across the table. May 20th, Margaret said, tapping that one. Mother's Day weekend. She told the prayer circle she was spending it alone, grieving the marriage. I looked at all of it spread across my kitchen table, the visitor logs, the parking lot photos, Earl's security footage on his phone, the maintenance ledger showing who I really was, what I'd really given up. Why? I asked again. Why are you doing this? Doris sat down next to me, put her hand over mine. Hers was small, weathered, spotted with age. Schoolteacher hands that had guided 1,000 kids through their times tables. Because liars shouldn't win, she said simply, and because you deserve better than being erased. Earl set a fresh beer in front of me. Question is, what are you going to do with it? I looked at the divorce papers. At Linda's statement claiming she'd sacrificed, contributed, deserved. Then, at the evidence showing she'd been planning her exit for months, seeing Tyler during surgery recovery, lying to the church, lying to Amy, lying to everyone. I don't know, I said. Well, you got time to figure it out, Earl said. Mediation's not for another week. Amy needs to see this, Margaret said softly. She's been defending her mother at church, saying things about you. She doesn't know the truth. My chest tightened. She knows enough. She chose Linda anyway. She chose based on lies, Doris said. Give her a chance to choose based on truth. I gathered up all the evidence, put it carefully back in the folders. Visitor logs with Margaret's, photos with Doris's. Earl's footage stayed on his phone. Let me think about it, I said. They left together, Doris and Margaret in the Honda, Earl in his truck. I watched them go, then looked back at the evidence. My phone was on the table. Amy's contact photo smiled up at me. I could call her right now. Could demand she come over. Force her to look at what her mother really was. But what if she still didn't believe me? What if she chose Linda even with proof? I couldn't survive that. Couldn't watch my daughter look at evidence of her mother's betrayal and decide it didn't matter. The sun moved across the kitchen floor. I sat there for an hour, maybe two, staring at the phone. Finally, I picked it up, opened a new message to Amy, typed, "Amy, I have something to show you." Deleted it, typed, "Your mother's been lying to you." Deleted that too, typed, "Can we talk? Please?" Stared at it for 5 minutes. Deleted it. Set the phone down. The sun dropped behind the neighbor's roof, kitchen filled with shadows. I didn't turn on the lights. Somewhere in town, Linda was probably at Tyler's place, planning their future, spending the spousal support she hadn't gotten yet. Somewhere else, Amy was making dinner for her son. Believing her mother's version. Believing I was the villain, and I was here, alone in the dark, with proof nobody would see unless I found the courage to show them. The clock ticked. The house creaked. Duke's tags jingled from Earl's truck pulling back into my driveway. He came in without knocking, turned on the kitchen light, set a pizza box on the table. "You eatin'?" "No." "Figured." He opened the box. Pepperoni and mushroom. My favorite. Can't make good decisions on an empty stomach. We ate in silence. The pizza tasted like cardboard, but I ate it anyway. "You're gonna call her," Earl finally said. "Amy, you're gonna show her the evidence." "What if she doesn't believe it?" "Then at least you'll know. And you can stop hoping for something that ain't gonna happen." He was right. I hated that he was right. After he left, I picked up my phone again, stared at Amy's photo for a long time. Then I typed, "Amy, I have something to show you. No pressure, no agenda, just truth. If you want to see it, come to Earl's garage tomorrow at 2. If not, I understand. I love you either way." My thumb hovered over send. I thought about my father, about my mother, about 42 years of showing up. I hit send before I could change my mind. The message showed delivered, then read. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I waited. The dots disappeared. No response came. I set the phone down and waited for tomorrow to come. I didn't sleep. Spent the night in the recliner with the TV on, watching old westerns on cable. John Wayne standing up to the bad guys. Always knew what was right. Always won in the end. Real life didn't work that way. By morning, I'd convinced myself Amy wouldn't come. Why would she? I was asking her to choose between her parents, and she'd already made that choice. The silence after my text said everything. I made coffee anyway, showered, put on clean clothes. The folder sat on the passenger seat of my truck like a live grenade. Earl's garage at 1:30. Too early, but I couldn't sit in that house anymore. Earl was under a Dodge Ram when I walked in. Slid out on the creeper, wiping his hands on a rag. "She answer you?" "No." He nodded. Didn't say what we both knew, that silence was an answer too. "You want me here?" he asked. "Or should I make myself scarce?" "Stay. If she comes, I want her to see that people believe me, that I'm not making this up." Doris and Margaret showed up at 1:45, brought coffee in a thermos and paper cups, sat in the office where they could see through the window but not be in the way. 2 o'clock came. No Amy. 5 after. Still nothing. Earl started putting tools away, making noise to fill the silence. Duke wandered over and sat at my feet, like he knew I needed the company. At 8 minutes after, a Mazda pulled into the lot. My heart jumped. Then I saw Amy behind the wheel, not moving, just sitting there, staring at the steering wheel. "Give her a minute," Earl said quietly. We waited. Finally, the door opened. Amy got out slow, like her legs weren't sure they'd hold her. She was wearing jeans and that Indiana sweatshirt again. No makeup. Eyes red like she'd been crying or hadn't slept. Maybe both. "I almost didn't come," she said when she reached the bay door. "I know. Thanks for giving me a chance." She looked past me at Earl, then through the office window at Doris and Margaret. "What is this? An intervention?" "It's people who care about the truth," I said. "That's all." She crossed her arms. "Mom said you'd try this. Ganging up on her. Making her look bad." I'm not ganging up on anybody. I just want you to see something. Then you can decide for yourself. Decide what? Who's telling the truth? She looked at the folder on the workbench. Is that it? Yeah. And if I look at it, you'll stop. You'll just let this be over? Amy. I took a step closer. She didn't back away. Before I show you what I found, I need to ask you something. Do you really believe I'm the man your mother says I am? Her face crumpled. I don't know, Dad. She's so convincing, and she's my mom. Why would she lie? That's the right question. Why would she? I opened the folder, started with the easiest piece, Earl's maintenance ledger, 40 years of records. The note about turning down $45,000 because the car was supposed to be Amy's someday. She touched the page, reading Earl's handwriting. You really said that? Yeah. Next came the hospital bills, the title transfer, the loan agreement, everything she'd seen before, but I laid it out again. The timeline, March 15th, sold the car. March 16th, surgery. I know all this, she said. Mom said, wait. I pulled out my phone, opened Earl's security footage. This is from March 12th. 3 days before I sold the car. Day before your mother's surgery. I hit play. Amy watched Tyler's BMW pull up, watched Linda step out, watched her kiss his hand. Her face went white. That's before I sold the Nova, before the surgery, before any of it. I showed her the timestamp. This was happening while I was loading the car onto a trailer to take it to the buyer. Maybe they were just friends, maybe. I showed her the next piece. The hospital visitor log, Tyler's 3 visits during Linda's recovery. I was there every day, I said. 7, 8 hours at a time. Never saw him. You know why? Because he came when I wasn't there. When I went for coffee or to the cafeteria or home to shower. Amy's hands were shaking. She took the paper from me, read the dates and times herself. Margaret came out of the office with the photographs. These are from church parking lot, April through June. Your mother told everyone she was alone, grieving, asked for prayers. The photos showed Linda getting into Tyler's BMW, Linda and Tyler at restaurants, Linda laughing while the church prayed for her broken heart. I defended her, Amy whispered. At work, at church, to my friends. I told everyone you were the problem. You didn't know, I said. I should have known. I'm your daughter. I should have. Her voice broke. She reached into her purse, pulled out a cheap flip phone, set it on the workbench next to the evidence. What's that? I asked. Mom's burner phone. I found it yesterday when I was helping her pack. She and Tyler are supposed to go to Florida next week. Amy's voice was hollow. I turned it on. Read the messages. She opened the phone, scrolled to the oldest message. November 2023. 4 months before the surgery. Can't wait to be free of him. Just need to time it right. Surgery might be the excuse I need. Tyler's response. Take what you can. He owes you for wasting your best years. More messages. Amy read them out loud, voice getting tighter with each one. He's so trusting it's pathetic. He sold that stupid car. Good. More money for me in the divorce. Amy's wavering, need to lock her in, going to tell her about his emotional abuse. She'll believe it because she wants to. That last one hit Amy like a fist. She dropped the phone, pressed her hands to her face. She played me, Amy said through her fingers. She knew exactly what to say, what buttons to push. She made me doubt you, made me abandon you when you needed me most. I pulled her into a hug. She collapsed against my chest, sobbing. Her whole body shook. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. It's okay. It's not okay. I chose her over you. I believed her lies. I posted that picture, the people who matter most. And you weren't even in it. What kind of daughter does that? The kind who wanted to believe her mother loved her? She pulled back, wiping her eyes with her sleeve. What do we do? With all this evidence? That's up to you. She's still your mother. Amy looked at the phone, the photos, the visitor logs. All of it spread out on the workbench like pieces of a life that had been broken and reassembled into something true. No, she said. She stopped being my mother when she made me a weapon against you. She picked up the burner phone. I'll testify. I'll tell them everything. About the messages. About how she coached me. All of it. Amy, that'll cost you. She'll cut you off. Maybe for good. Then that's the cost. She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. I'm done choosing comfort over what's right. Earl stepped forward, cleared his throat. Mediation's Tuesday, 10 a.m. You want? I can drive you both. We'll be there, Amy said before I could answer. Doris came out of the office, Margaret behind her. They'd both been crying too. You did the right thing, Doris said to Amy. It takes courage to admit you were wrong. I wasn't just wrong. I was cruel. Amy looked at me. I posted that picture, called you distant, told people you were the problem. How do you even look at me? Because you're here now, I said. Because you chose truth when it mattered. That's what counts. She hugged me again, tighter this time. When's the mediation? Tuesday morning. I'll be there, and I'm bringing the phone. We stayed in the garage until the sun started dropping. Amy told us about finding the phone, about almost not coming today, about how she'd been feeling like something was wrong for weeks but couldn't name it. She kept coaching me, Amy said. Every conversation. Remember how Dad never listened? Remember how controlling he was? Like she was writing a script for me to memorize. That's what abusers do, Margaret said quietly. They rewrite history until you can't tell what's real anymore. When Amy finally left, she hugged me in the parking lot. Sunday dinner? She asked. Like we used to? I'd like that. Me too. I watched her drive away. Then I turned to Earl, Doris, Margaret. Thank you, all of you, for not letting me disappear. Earl clapped my shoulder. That's what friends do. Inside the garage, the evidence was still spread across the workbench. Proof of betrayal, proof of lies, proof that truth was worth fighting for. I gathered it all carefully, put it back in the folders. Tuesday was 4 days away. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Tuesday morning came cold and gray, rain threatening but not falling yet. I put on my good shirt, the button-down Amy gave me 2 Christmases ago, navy blue. Shaved careful, cut myself twice anyway. Hands weren't as steady as they used to be. Earl picked me up at 9. Amy was already in the back seat, holding the burner phone like it might explode. You okay? I asked her. No, but I'm here. The drive to the mediation office took 20 minutes. Nobody talked. Radio played low, classic country, Waylon Jennings singing about lonesome, ornery, and mean. Felt about right. The building was one of those professional complexes off Highway 37. Brick and glass, parking lot, half empty. We were early. Linda's Honda wasn't there yet. Jennifer Cole, my lawyer, met us in the lobby. Sharp woman, mid-40s, expensive suit that probably cost more than my truck payment. She'd gone over the evidence yesterday, sitting in my kitchen for 3 hours. Hadn't said much, just took notes and asked questions. Morning, Frank. She shook my hand. Amy? Earl. She looked at the folder I was carrying. You have everything? Everything. Good, let's go in. They should be here soon. The conference room was sterile. Long table, uncomfortable chairs, harsh fluorescent lights that hummed. Coffee station in the corner with burnt smell that reminded me of the hospital. We sat on one side of the table. Jennifer opened her briefcase, pulled out documents. Amy set the burner phone in front of her, screen dark. 9:45. Linda's lawyer arrived first. Sharp-dressed guy, younger than I expected, slicked back hair and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Name was something hyphenated. Didn't catch it, didn't care. He nodded at us. Morning. Took his seat on the opposite side. 9:52. Linda walked in. She looked good, better than she had in years. New haircut, expensive looking, dress I'd never seen, perfume that filled the room. that same sharp scent from the porch that morning months ago. Her eyes found mine first. I watched something flicker across her face. Surprise, maybe guilt, maybe nothing. Then she saw Amy. Amy? Her voice went soft. What are you doing here? Amy didn't answer. Linda sat down slowly, kept looking at our daughter like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Honey, this isn't your fight. You don't need to be here. Yeah, Amy said quietly. I do? The mediator arrived at 10 exactly. Woman in her 50s, tired eyes, wedding ring worn down to a smooth band. Probably seen 1,000 marriages end in rooms like this. Good morning. I'm Carol Mitchell. I'll be facilitating today's session. She opened a folder, scanned the contents. We're here regarding Morrison Files. Morrison. Petitioner seeks spousal support, asset division, and, before we start, Jennifer interrupted, we'd like to enter additional evidence. Linda's lawyer straightened. What kind of evidence? Jennifer pulled out the first document. Maintenance records for a 1972 Chevrolet Nova, showing 40 years of care, collector value of $45,000, sold by respondent for $12,000 3 days before petitioner's surgery. She slid it across the table. Linda's lawyer picked it up, skimmed it. This is circumstantial, he said. Doesn't address. There's more. Jennifer laid out the hospital bills. Bank statements. Loan agreements. Respondent paid for petitioner's surgery in full, liquidated assets to cover costs. Had joint bank accounts with petitioner. No financial control is claimed. Linda was staring at the papers. Her face had gone pale. We also have security footage, Jennifer said. She opened her laptop, turned it toward the mediator. Earl's video played. Tyler's BMW. Linda stepping out. The kiss. March 12th, Jennifer said. 3 days before Mr. Morrison sold his vehicle. Day before Mrs. Morrison's surgery. Linda's lawyer leaned in, watched the timestamp. His jaw tightened. Hospital visitor logs, Jennifer continued, sliding those across. Tyler Brennan visited Mrs. Morrison 3 times during recovery, while Mr. Morrison was in the waiting room or at home. These could be, Linda's lawyer started. There's more, Amy said. Everyone looked at her. She picked up the burner phone, set it in the middle of the table. This is my mother's second phone. I found it Sunday while helping her pack. Amy's voice was steady now, strong. It has text messages between her and Tyler Brennan dating back to November 2023, 4 months before the surgery, before my father sold his car, before any of it. Linda's face drained of color. Amy, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Amy unlocked the phone, started reading. Can't wait to be free of him. Just need to time it right. That's you, Mom. November 15th. She scrolled. He's so trusting it's pathetic. December 3rd. Another message. He sold that stupid car. Good. More money for me in the divorce. March 17th. 2 days after Dad sold the Nova to pay for your surgery. Linda reached across the table. Amy, please. Amy's wavering. Need to lock her in. Going to tell her about his emotional abuse. She'll believe it because she wants to. Amy looked up at her mother. April 9th. Remember that conversation, Mom? When you told me how controlling Dad was, how distant, you knew exactly what to say, what buttons to push. This is taken out of context, Linda started. What context makes this okay? Amy's voice cracked. You manipulated me. You made me doubt my own father. You used me as a weapon against him. The mediator cleared her throat. Mrs. Morrison, would you like to take a private conference with your attorney? Linda's lawyer was already standing. Yes. We need to discuss. They left the room. Through the window, I could see them in the hallway. Linda talking fast, hands moving. Her lawyer shaking his head, looking at papers on his phone. We sat in silence. Amy was crying quietly. I put my hand over hers. You did good, I said. I don't feel good. I feel like I just destroyed my mother. You didn't destroy her. You just stopped letting her destroy me. 20 minutes later, they came back. Linda wouldn't look at anyone. Her lawyer's professional smile was gone. My client wishes to revise her petition, he said. She'll withdraw the request for spousal support. Jennifer didn't react. And? Simple asset division. Mrs. Morrison keeps the condominium, purchased with separate funds. Mr. Morrison keeps the marital home. Retirement accounts split 60-40 in Mr. Morrison's favor, reflecting years of service disparity. What about the defamatory statements? Jennifer asked. Linda's lawyer looked at Linda. She was staring at the table. My client retracts any statements regarding emotional abuse or financial control. She acknowledges these claims were inaccurate. Carol, the mediator, looked at me. Mr. Morrison, is this acceptable? I looked at Linda, really looked at her, saw the woman I'd been married to for 42 years sitting across from me like a stranger. Her expensive haircut, her new perfume, her carefully constructed life falling apart because truth was harder than lies. I didn't feel triumph. Didn't feel vindication, just tired. Yeah, I said. I just want it over. Mrs. Morrison? Linda nodded without speaking. Then we'll draw up the settlement. You'll both need to sign. Papers appeared. Legal language I didn't fully understand, but Jennifer said was fair. I signed where she pointed. Linda signed on her side, hands shaking. As we were gathering papers, Linda's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it. Her face went hard. Amy could see the screen from her angle. Is that Tyler? Linda didn't answer. This is getting too messy, Amy read aloud. Need some space. Have fun in Florida alone. Earl muttered. Rats and sinking ships. Linda grabbed her phone, shoved it in her purse. Can we just finish? Her lawyer looked pained. We're done. Just need final signatures from the notary. That took 10 more minutes. Then it was over. 42 years reduced to signatures and legal stamps. Linda left first, wouldn't look back. I watched her through the window, getting into her Honda alone, sitting there for a moment before driving away. Frank? Jennifer was packing her briefcase. You did well today. Your daughter's testimony was crucial. She shouldn't have had to give it. No. But she chose to anyway. That says something. Outside, the rain had started. Light, misty. Earl pulled his truck around. Amy hugged me in the parking lot. Is it really over? The legal part, yeah. And us? I held her tight. That's up to you. I'm here if you want me. I want Sunday dinners, like when I was a kid. I'd like that too. Earl drove us home. Put the radio on. Nobody talked, but it was comfortable now. The silence felt different, lighter. He dropped Amy at her car first, then took me home. Buy you a beer later? He asked. Yeah, think I could use one. The house was quiet when I walked in, but not empty quiet like before, just peaceful. I made coffee, sat on the porch. Watched the rain fall soft on the lawn. My phone buzzed. Text from Amy. Photo of the burner phone in a trash can. Caption. Some things belong in the garbage. I smiled. Texted back. Proud of you. 3 dots. Then, love you, Dad. I set the phone down, drank my coffee, let the rain wash everything clean. 3 months later, the world looked different. Not better exactly, just different. Like when you take off glasses you've worn so long you forgot they were dirty, and suddenly everything's clearer. Amy came by every Sunday now. Brought her son Jake with her sometimes. 16 years old, tall like his grandfather, quiet like me. Good kid. We'd started a tradition. Simple dinners, nothing fancy. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Pot roast. The kind of food that tastes like family. Grandpa, Jake said one Sunday, helping me clear dishes. Mom says you used to have a really cool car. I glanced at Amy. She was smiling, sad but real. Yeah, a '72 Nova. Had her for 40 years. What happened to it? Amy answered before I could. Your grandpa sold it to help someone who needed it. That's the kind of man he is. Jake thought about that. That sucks though. I mean, 40 years. Yeah, I said. It did. You ever think about getting another one? I hadn't, not seriously, but that week Earl called. Got something you need to see, he said. Don't argue, just come by the garage. When I got there, he was standing next to a '74 Nova, primer gray, hood up, engine half apart. Rough shape, but the bones were good. Guy in Bedford's selling, Earl said. Needs work, a lot of work, but she'll run. Earl, I can't afford $4,000. That's all he wants. Thing is, I told him you might need help. Thought maybe Amy could chip in, make it a project. Something you build together. I looked at the car, saw 40 years of Sunday afternoons in Earl's garage, saw teaching Amy to check oil when she was 6, saw my father's stone, beloved father, and my mother's. She loved without counting the cost. Split the work, split the cost, I said quietly. That's the idea. I called Amy that night. You busy Saturday mornings? Depends. Why? Thought maybe we could restore a car together, if you're interested. Silence on the other end. Then, the Nova? A Nova. Different one. Needs a lot of work. I'd like that, Dad. So, we started. Every Saturday morning, Amy and I at Earl's garage. She'd show up in old jeans and a t-shirt, hair pulled back, ready to work. I taught her things I'd forgotten I knew. How to gap spark plugs, how to read a timing light, how to feel when an engine's running right just by the sound. Jake came sometimes too, watched us work, asked questions. Good questions, smart kid. We changed the color, not silver like the old one, midnight blue. Amy picked it out. New car, new start, she said. It took us 3 months, weekends and some evenings. Earl supervised, offered advice, mostly just let us figure it out. Duke kept us company, lying in the sun by the bay door. The day we finished, Amy turned the key. The engine caught, rumbled to life. Perfect idle, no smoke, just that clean sound of an engine that's been put together right. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. We did it. Yeah, we did. Earl came over, inspected our work, ran his hand along the hood. She'll go another 40 years if you treat her right. Amy took the first test drive. I sat passenger side, watching her handle the wheel, confident now, grown. She'd been through hell and came out stronger. We drove through town, past the post office, past the elementary school, past the church. A few of Linda's old friends were on the sidewalk outside. One waved tentatively. I waved back. No anger, no bitterness. Just acknowledgement that we'd all survived something. How do you do that? Amy asked. Just let it go? I'm not letting it go. I'm choosing what to carry. That's different. We drove past the diner. Pam was outside sweeping. She smiled, gave us a thumbs up when she saw the Nova. You going back to Tuesday breakfasts? Amy asked. Been going for a month now. How is it? Same eggs, same coffee, same booth. I looked at her. Different me. She pulled into my driveway. The Nova purred under us. When do I get the keys? She asked. Car's yours as much as mine. We built it together. No. She put her hand over mine. You keep it, but I get visiting rights. Deal. That evening, I sat on the porch. Coffee in my good mug, the one without the chip. Garage door open for the first time in months. The Nova sat inside, midnight blue and gleaming. My phone buzzed. Amy had sent a photo. The dashboard, her hand on the wheel. Caption: Thanks for teaching me that real things are worth the work, Dad. I smiled. Started to text back, then heard a truck pull up. Earl. Hadn't called, just showed up with a six-pack. Thought you might want company, he said. Always. We sat in silence, comfortable. Watched the sun drop behind the trees. Somewhere down the street, kids were playing. Screen doors slamming. Life happening. You did good, Frank, Earl said after a while. Through all of it, you did good. Just tried not to become what they said I was. That's the hardest fight there is. He raised his beer. And you won it. I didn't feel like I'd won anything. Just survived. But maybe that was enough. My phone buzzed again. Jennifer Cole, my lawyer. Text said, divorce finalized. Papers filed with the court. It's official. Best of luck, Frank. 42 years, finished, done, over. I should have felt something. Relief, sadness, anger, something. Instead, I just felt ready for whatever came next. You hear about Linda? Earl asked carefully. No. Sold the condo. Moved to Florida after all. Alone. I nodded, didn't ask for details, didn't need them. You ever think about her? Earl asked. Sometimes. Mostly I think about what I have now. That's better. He clinked his beer against mine. Damn straight. Jake's truck pulled up an hour later. He got out, walked over with his hands in his pockets. Mom sent me to get you. Says dinner's ready at her place. Says you're not allowed to say no. That right? Yes, sir. She made pot roast, the good kind. I looked at Earl. You coming? Nah, this is family time, but save me some leftovers. We drove over in Jake's truck, the Nova safely in my garage. Amy's house was lit up warm, smelled like rosemary and roasted vegetables when we walked in. She'd set the table for 3. Candles. The good dishes. This is fancy, I said. Special occasion. She handed me a small wrapped box. It's not my birthday. Just open it. Inside was a keychain. Simple metal, engraved with words. Things last if you take care of them. My throat got tight. Amy, you taught me that, Dad. About cars, about people, about what matters. She hugged me. Thank you for not giving up. On the car, on me, on any of it. We ate dinner together, talked about everything and nothing. Jake told us about school. Amy talked about work. I mostly listened, grateful to be included. After dinner, Amy walked me out to the Nova. I'd driven it over, left Jake's truck at my place. She runs beautiful, Amy said, running her hand along the hood. We built her right. Yeah, we did. She looked at me. You doing okay, Dad? Really? Getting there. Good, because I need you around. Jake needs you around. You're not allowed to disappear on us. Not planning on it, she kissed my cheek. See you Sunday? Wouldn't miss it. I drove home slow, windows down, radio playing low. The Nova ran smooth. Quiet. Perfect. At home, I pulled into the garage, sat there for a minute with the engine running, listening to it idle. Then I shut it off. Walked inside. The house didn't feel empty anymore. Just mine. Finally mine again. I made coffee out of habit even though it was late. Took it to the porch. The stars were out, bright and cold. The boards creaked under my weight, same creak they'd made for 30 years. Tomorrow, I'd wake up and do it all again. Make coffee, sit on the porch, maybe work on the Nova with Amy, maybe have Tuesday breakfast with Earl. Simple things, real things. The kind of things that last if you take care of them. Funny thing about losing everything. You find out what you're made of. Not all at once. Slow, like rust in reverse. Building back what got stripped away, one day at a time. I learned some things these past months. Learned that silence isn't the same as surrender. That keeping your dignity doesn't mean staying quiet when lies are being told. That the difference between my father's bitterness and my fight was simple. He pushed everyone away, and I let people in. Earl, Doris, Margaret, Amy. When she finally chose truth over comfort, they showed me something I'd forgotten, that you're never as alone as you think, that witnesses matter, that sometimes love looks like an old man keeping maintenance records for 40 years, or church ladies taking photographs they shouldn't, or a daughter brave enough to admit she was wrong. Linda's somewhere in Florida now. I don't wish her harm. Don't wish her anything, really. She traded something real for something shiny, and now she's got neither. That's punishment enough. Amy asks sometimes if I regret it. The marriage. The years. The Nova. I tell her the truth. I regret the ending, not the journey. 42 years taught me how to show up, how to keep promises, how to love without counting the cost. Those lessons don't disappear just because she did. The Nova, the new one, sits in my garage now. Midnight blue, rebuilt by my hands and my daughters. Not the same car I lost, but maybe something better. Proof that you can build new things from old pain. That starting over at 68 isn't giving up, it's growing up. I still sit on this porch every morning. Same chair, same coffee, same sunrise. But the garage door stays open now. And on Sundays, Amy's car pulls into the driveway. That's not nothing, that's everything. Things last if you take care of them. Cars, friendships, dignity, truth. I learned that from my mother. Forgot it for a while. Remembered it when it mattered most. If you're reading this from your own porch, your own kitchen table, wondering if it's worth it to keep fighting for what's right when everyone's telling you to let it go, I can't tell you what to do. Can't promise it won't hurt or cost you or take longer than you want. But I can tell you this, the view from the other side of truth is worth the climb, and you're stronger than you think. Strong enough to survive betrayal, strong enough to forgive your daughter when she chooses wrong, strong enough to rebuild what got torn down, strong enough to keep showing up even when nobody's watching, especially then. The sun's coming up now, coffee's getting cold, time to start another day. And I'm still here. That counts for something.